Hey there, in this video I'll be showing you probably my most valuable clay table that I've ever built after spending probably over 1,000 hours in clay, over 3 years of using it every single day as well, and after launching thousands of campaigns. This is the table slash template that I always come back to, and I'll be giving you a full breakdown of how to use it and as well how to make any edits so this table works for you and the tools that you're currently using and anything of that nature. So yeah, let's get right into it. So the methodology that I like to use every time I build a new table is to start with what types of companies do we want and not want in our table, which, as the first name of this template implies, is sort of the full TAM of all the companies that we want. And then we'll do a broad filter on all of those. So using Clay's built-in find companies feature, let's say we're looking for some type of, and I don't really have an ICP planned out, I'm kind of just winging it. We'll say we want is tech companies, okay. I just want sort of a, let's say, sales, like enablement type companies, if that makes sense. So anything related with like, yeah, this is good. Go to market, inbound is fine. Go to market, outbound, prospecting. Just kind of any tech related to that is the leading online recruitment. Let's say we want to filter out recruitment. And then typically I'd follow a different process to do this, but just for the sake of this video, I want to keep it as simple as possible. But yeah, okay, cool. This looks good enough. So let's say we're looking for like sales enablement type software, right? So we will add this to the table, let it auto run, and there are sort of precautions in place to make sure that this doesn't auto run by accident. So you can feel confident in just clicking this. Cool, this should be blocked. Okay, no, that's fine actually. Okay. Cool, 11x looks good. Yeah, or like 11x is a good example of sort of what I had in mind without sort of mentioning it directly. Cool. So we'll run that. So look, now we have all of our companies that are imported. Everything's sort of on track to get started. Now the first tool that is replaceable is web crawl. So this is a tool that's going to go to every single website, read the pages, and sort of give me back the output. So we do this instead of using Clayagent just to reduce costs a little bit, especially at the scale that we sort of filter lists at. We just save a ton of money by doing it this way, and this is the way that we will continue doing it. And as you can see, let's see if there's the price around here, cost. For an extremely cheap price, we're able to sort of get a full scrape of that website, and then we do it for every single company. But this could be done with Clayagent, and I have done it with Clayagent in the past, but just sort of with our new way of doing things, we want to make it as simple as possible. This column right here, this AI model, or you know what, I should go back here just to not go over all of this. So what we're doing here is these are all sort of outputs that get taken from this, you can almost consider it a webhook with all of the different sort of data points of each company. So we're taking the company name, the domain, and then we're using a free integration here called Clearbit, which lets you sort of find any company domain just based off of the name. If they have it, they'll give it to you. If they don't, then you'll sort of just get an empty result, but that company already didn't have a domain attached to it. Then we get a company domain, and on here you'll notice this little icon, which is a auto dedupe feature, which anytime there's sort of any duplicates, it'll automatically delete it, so we're not enriching the same company twice. Then we pull the LinkedIn URL, the industries, location, the description, if we have one, and then the employee count that they have categorized themselves as. And as well, sort of quick warning on this, this is typically off, so I wouldn't fully trust this number. I would rely on another tool to sort of give you the right answers. Cool. So yeah, we'll use web crawl. We'll use this is a sort of the way that you use OpenRouter, but again, I would recommend using Clayagent if you're not too familiar with the tool. But this is sort of the solution for you if you're looking to do this at scale with a very cost-efficient solution. So now what I'll do is, so I always have sort of this verification prompt that lives in this column. This right here is looking for hotels and lodging businesses and just making sure that there's at least one property. And then we run through the entire prompt, any keywords that might be helpful, any keywords that will definitely not make them qualify, and then more little like conditions to help you the verification prompt figure that out. So I'm going to build this again, but for sort of companies like 11x, Ocean.io would be one of them. Let me see if I can find anything else. I believe no. Anyways, sort of like sales enablement software is the idea here. So sort of filter out agencies, filter out anything of that nature. So, you know what, for the sake of this video, I will show you guys how to build this. So here's how I would do it. I'd go into here, copy paste that, or realistically, you have to do it in here. Copy paste this, and I would say, okay. First, I'd say a sales enablement. So I do this instead of having to sort of explain exactly what a sales enablement company is. And as well, it's sort of so nothing gets missed. It's really, really hard to think of every single little keyword or thing that might be mentioned. So here, what I ask you to do is just go figure out what this does. And then I can sort of tell it, like, be more broad with the types of companies you're filtering in. Because here it might say, like, it has to be an AI SDR, but I'll say, like, no, anything sales software works. One of the benefits as well, not the benefits, the way that you would typically build this would be you kind of already have your campaign in mind, you know the people that you're already going for, and you would have already done this part when you did this company's selecting at the very, very beginning. So then I would use that same research to help you build this verification prompt. And now, even just like looking at all of these, I missed a ton of these types of companies in the initial prompt, which is, again, why I'd recommend building this sort of research before even getting into the this looks solid. We're going to take this, copy it, and copy everything except, we don't need this here as company information, because you'll notice, I guess we could have taken it. Never mind. Cool. So we will run that. Now, what we will do is, so now, this is using OpenRouter, but you could do this again in Clayagent. You would paste in the prompt, and just this formatting looks a little bit different than what you might be used to. But essentially here we're like picking the model that we want to use, which would be Llama 4 Scout, and then the content, which is that prompt, and then the verification prompt is there. And then, at the end of that prompt, we were saying, like, hey, this is here's the company information that I want you to use. That's the research we did using the web crawl on with Spider Cloud. And then this bit here is how I want it to output. And this is just called like a structured output using JSON. And what we're saying, it's like verify the ICP for me, qualify it as yes or no. And then I also want a company description, just in case I don't already have one from the previous, or I guess from this input of companies. Cool. So then we'll run that. And I like to run this in this view, which you will also have when you download this template, which is just called verify ICP. So, and now sort of the idea is you review some of the yeses, some of the nos, to help you determine, like, hey, I'm a superhuman closer, experience AI-led, looks solid. or close enough to what we want. Get one page, prepare sales meetings, good enough. 42 AI, automate go-to-market with AI. Cool. All right, cool. So we're happy with the prompt that it's outputting. These inputs, just for anyone wondering, is they're not running just because there's no content to be found here. So, yeah, it just means there's a glitch with sort of the website. So you can see right here, inputs missing. And then if we take a look at the website, there's just no content. So that's what those errors are. We will continue letting this run. And then also if you're looking for sort of a price analysis here, I built this prompt to, and this is again specific to my use case, but it's like what the company analysis with open router costs and then plus that web scrape here. So to get the combined price. And then the idea for me is to keep it as cheap as possible. And then we'll go back to this view, run the rest of this, or that's already running. Cool. And then you'll notice if a company passes our test, if there's any missing info, we will use lead magic to help us get that. And then if there's a missing description, we would pull that too. And then right before we add this to our second table, we actually clean up the company names just to make sure that it's as clean as possible. Let me see if there's an example here. Okay, this is a good one. So Fourth Down Solutions has our new venture is Ascended Technologies. Technically, in this case, we should be reaching out to them as Ascended Technologies. But if we are going to reach out to them and say their company name, even if it's Fourth Down, I'd rather just say Fourth Down than this entire thing. So that's why we clean it up. But this is sort of a tough one to clean up just because they go by Ascend Technologies. Their website says Clarity. Like it's just sort of a little bit of a mess in terms of data. And it's just part of the game. I think you will come across some of these types of companies that sort of don't line up. Because their LinkedIn page, I think, is still Fourth Down, like in their URL. If I could pull that up. Yeah, just still Fourth Down. So anyways, you're going to naturally get some of those as you build tables, but it's just part of the game. And then when the companies sort of pass through that filter, then we're going to push them to our second table, which in the name you'll be able to see quickly. It's our filter tan. So these are all like the companies that we want to reach out to. They fit our ICP. And this is the point where hypothetically, if we wanted to run any type of additional custom fields or research that we'd want to run on these companies, maybe say like funding data, if they're currently hiring for any roles, which is also something we could run, I'd leave that to your table 2. Biggest reason being is your table 1 should be as sort of textbook as possible, if that makes sense. So here the entire table runs. If there's any data missing, it gets fed into it. But the idea is the only thing you're changing is this verification prompt for sort of the types of companies you're looking for. Everything runs through, and from there you can sort of make decisions with and get an idea of like, okay, cool. So let's say, okay, it's pretty much done. So let's say we know that we have 600 companies in mind. Now we can sort of decide how segmented we want to be. If we were looking for, like, do they have like physical locations? Because maybe that was something related to our pitch. Like, do they have physical locations that we could reach out to? It's okay. Like, anyways, it really helps you make decisions just knowing what your actual final count of companies is. Because when we first started this, we were at 4,600 companies, but only 600 are actual ICP companies that are sales tech, and that should be reached out to. So anyways, you learn a lot by having this table, and it helps you make better decisions. In this case, I won't be doing anything custom for these companies, but what you could do is, let's say you were looking for like that locations example, maybe say like they need to have at least 3 offices around the world. Then in your views, you can do something where you call this final view, have your filter of like has more than 2 locations. And then when you go into table 3, which is going to be pulling the leads for these companies, you will be able to here, pull table 2, so under companies, you'd be able to pull the final view leads. So that would be the idea. Cool. In this case, we'll keep it as simple as possible. C-suite. And then, honestly, that's fine. And then we'll just say 5 people per company, and I just want 20. We'll say 2 just to get more coverage. Cool. Looks solid. And then as well, one other thing I do want to mention is some of these companies won't line up with maybe the names that you saw in the table 2 campaign, or sorry, table. The reason that is sometimes they'll have like mismatching company names or company domains, but that's all good. So if this lead was truly not related to, for example, like we have Zoom info, or we don't have Zoom info and Zoom info is coming up here, they won't sort of be enriched, and I'll show you exactly why in a second. So this column right here is kind of our safeguard, or guardrail, I should say. It's the lookup into our table 2 just to make sure that these companies are actually working there, right? So I'm sure most of these are in here, but if you had a list that was completely off, you wouldn't waste your enrichments. Okay, so in this case, all of these companies actually passed through, and then if a company was actually found, then we start cleaning up these people's names just to make sure that their first names always sort of match and always make sense. So we can always say like, hey, Daniel, instead of accidentally saying like Daniel Brick Sanchez, So that's the logic there. Cool. So this runs, and then you can have sort of your pre-filtered email verification tools in here as well, and you can always add more as you run through this. In this case, we do have Prospeo turned off. You could add sort of like full enrich. You could add a ton of these into this and sort of make it your standard for what you want to enrich for. Then going down this table, we have email category just to sort of filter out personal and business emails, just because the tool that we use, Email Bison, doesn't allow for sending to personal emails. So we just want to make sure we filter that out here before going any further. That's just data internally. And then here we run a prompt called find if they still work here. So we're using Clayagent here. The idea is just check their LinkedIn profile and confirm if they're still working there. And then if it's clearly a no, like their current date, or there's like an end date on their current job that lines up with the job that's here, then don't output it. And then if one of the ideas here is we're going to keep running this, or we'll continue to actually email these people if it's unknown or yes, just to avoid losing too many leads. Then we run a host lookup because we do group companies by, or sorry, not companies, we group campaigns by provider. So we're going to send all of the accounts that have a Google inbox all through the same campaign, all the Microsoft inboxes through the same campaign, and then all of the other, which is going to be anything custom, like here, Proofpoint, custom mail server, Mimecast, anything like that. They're all going to be grouped as other. And then we will actually push them into Bison right here using this template. And this is our email sequencer. This could be Instantly, Smart Lead, any of those tools. And yeah, so that's the entire workflow. This is sort of how I build lists super quickly. And really just sort of always like the same methodologies is always applied whenever I build lists, but this one's sort of been templated so much for me that it makes my life extremely easy. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found value in this video. You will be able to find this template in the description. And yeah, let me know what you end up building, and I will talk to you guys soon. All right, have a good one. Take care.